evening, Cherries fans, and welcome to this latest show here on Up the Cherries in all departments. So, after our second defeat, where we were ahead, and this time it wasn't by 2-1, it was 3-1 up at Leeds United. We got beat. And as you could probably see on the watch along, it all unfolded. I didn't even have a screen for 4-3. I didn't even expect that, but it happened. Before we discuss the double header against Everton, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So, Everton are a side who are struggling like us. They are a side who are lacking in goals at the moment. No better place for them to really come, is there, than Dean Court? Well, we'll discuss all that and more. But it is a pleasure to welcome on Everton Rose. Evening, Rose. How are you?
Hi, Craig. I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem at all. Absolute pleasure. So, of course, we have got just before the World Cup, we've got a double header against Everton. And when I saw the numbers picked out during that Carabao Cup draw, I thought, oh. And of course, Everton playing Bournemouth twice in a row down here. Surely that's got to work in your favour a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. So I think with Everton this year, it may help us in that we'll get a sense, if it goes well tomorrow, then maybe we can replicate it. But if it doesn't go so well, maybe Lampard can find things to tweak and change. But I'm a little bit worried about it, to be honest. I'm sure we'll get into it.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I'm guessing Everton are probably going to be staying down as well after the cup game.
I mean, I would assume so. It seems a little bit silly, yeah, to come back up for
Yeah.
a couple of days and then go down.
See, that was my biggest fear. Was I thought, well, it's going to be easy. You've got so much more time down here after that cup game. It makes perfect sense. So let's talk about the cup game firstly. Of course, we beat Norwich City to get to this point, but do tell us a bit about Everton's game to get to this round.
So we just about got past Fleetwood away from home, and it was somebody who's been in really good form this year that got us the assist, which was Alex Iwobi, and it was Damari Gray with the goal all the way back in August. Forgotten about the game, to be honest with you, what it was, and I do remember that we made it very difficult for ourselves, and it was a really close game, and then Damari Gray, I think, didn't even start. I think he came on late, and then got the goal, got us through, but it was really close, and we made it really hard work for ourselves, I think.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a difficult season for Everton, but you did recently beat Crystal Palace 3-0, but then got beat 2-0 against Leicester. The results just don't seem to. There just doesn't seem to be any momentum.
No, no.
I'm guessing there's a lot of disappointment. Even though you did beat Southampton, but then again, that is Southampton.
Yeah, I just, I think it's just inconsistency. I think is the one word that I can use really quickly. You don't know how Everton are going to play. It can be the same 11 that, beat Crystal Palace 3-0 and were comfortable, to then not look like threatening the goal. And I think that's as well as I can sum it up, really. It's just, as soon as you take a player out of the first 11, for example, Calvert-Lewin, we are just we're just so much weaker. And there have been positives this year. So the defense has largely been organised, compact, solid, with the likes of Cody, Tarkowski. The midfield has mostly been okay, but when you come up against, better opposition like Leicester, we've come undone. Like against Newcastle's, Leicester's, Tottenham's, Manchester United's, we lose. But to be honest, to be perfectly frank with you, I expect to, because of the season we had last year. Losing Richarlison to Tottenham, being significantly weaker because of that. I'm not expecting to beat those teams, to be honest. But it is those, it's the home games really that for me, it's about getting to 40 points as quickly as possible so that we're not dragged into another relegation battle this year. And it's just been really inconsistent. Yeah, that's about it.
I think we're in the same frame of mind, to be honest, here. That we've had a bit of an upspurt after that 9-0 defeat at your neighbours that you don't like very much. But we've had, a little bit of an upspurt since that. But things have come undone in the last 4 games. And we were talking about the amount of goals we've scored. So we scored 5, but conceded 7. Now, Everton, as you say, haven't really, apart from that Crystal Palace game, haven't scored that many.
No. And yeah, it's a worry. Like it is a worry, because Calvert-Lewin is starting to get the reputation now of, the words injury prone thrown at him, because whenever he comes back, he breaks down and he's out for an equally or longer period of time. Anthony Gordon is very raw, more pay, barely got into double figures at Brighton. So why would I expect him to do the same, to do better at Everton? But yeah, so it's that lack of a real clinical goal scorer. If I think about someone like Fulham, who have just been great, really. Like a Mitrovic, like it's just clicked for him this year. We don't have that, and I don't know. I think, the older players, the more senior players have to get a grip in the dressing room, have to find a way to just get us through. And yes, the cup game, but I'm also really looking to that league game against you guys, because it's too early for 6 pointers, but it's really important. Whoever gets that going into the World Cup, it'll just be good.
It is. And either of us could be in the bottom 3 going into that World Cup. And that's the last place we want to be.
Definitely.
Of course, Bournemouth have, had that bit of a upspurt in results. We can score goals, as you can see. Do you think that you can keep us at bay, both in the cup and in the league, where no doubt it'll probably be more on Solanke?
So I think it's always difficult, because a common theme that Everton fans say is, if you haven't had a striker that hasn't scored in a while, you should play Everton. If you're 4 games on the bounce, you've lost. Best team to play is Everton, because we will basically grant you a win. And I really don't want that to be true, but it would not shock me tomorrow. You guys are coming into it, on a bit of a losing streak.
Yeah.
Lampard rotates the team, but they're all a bit rabbit in the headlights. Oh no, they're away from home. I can see us losing. Like with some of the players that you have, the few that we've mentioned, like your Billing, Solanke, Moore. I am worried that even if you rotate your team, and definitely for the League One, because we're so inconsistent. Like, I don't even know how else to say it.
Yeah. What do you think of Frank Lampard and the job that he has done there? Because I did a season preview with Harry Redknapp, and Harry was quite honest and said that he was worried for Frank.
I think Lampard's got a lot of courage to take it. The thing is now is, unfortunately for Lampard, is the comparisons are coming in with him and Benitez, because the points are very similar. If not, Benitez maybe had one more point. Maybe you might be correct on that. 14 games made, 15 points. And it was getting to this point where fans are really starting to turn on Benitez, because we were, again, in 16th, 15th, 17th. I think we're 16th now. And so I feel for him, because Lampard's come in. He's kept us up barely. He's signed a few of his own players, but he's also lost Richarlison, who was getting into double figures in goals and assists. So you take that out of the team. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's been injured for pretty much the whole season. So the fact that, we're not already in the relegation zone could actually be a positive, because we've lost both of the goal scorers from last year and seasons gone by. But in the same way, Lampard has come in for criticism, because there have been some games where he's not making changes and he's waiting really, really late. And then 80 minutes, 75 minutes making a change, and there's not enough time for that player to make an impact. However, our squad depth is a huge issue, and that's not down to Frank Lampard. That is down to years and years of bad recruitment, overpaying players, losing players on a free transfer. There's so many examples, like your Schneiderlins, your Walcotts, your Delphs, spending a significant amount of money on these players, putting them on high wages, and then letting them go for nothing. So he's also had to be somebody that's balanced the books. He's not had a huge amount to spend. Of course, we've brought in Onana, but that's a player for the future. So 33 million looks like a good investment on him. But he's working with 1.7 million Damari Gray, Andros Townsend on a free, who came in last summer, who's been injured the whole time as well. So I've got time for Frank Lampard, definitely, because he did his main objective of keeping us up. He seems to understand what it means to be Everton manager. However, results just have to start going his way at some point as well.
I think some of the signings he has made, especially Tarkowski and Connor Cody, are
wise,
both very,
really
very
wise
decisions. I was quite surprised, actually, that Connor Cody moved from Wolves.
Yeah, the Wolves let him go.
Yeah. So there's got to be some pluses there for Everton fans. Do you think a lot of it has to do because, of course, the new stadium being built is why he hasn't got as much of a budget?
Definitely. I think so. And it's about really getting a team that's worthy of playing there in a couple of years' time. And so, yeah, we've definitely got signed a mixture of experience, and then the young, promising players like your Gordon, your Ananas, your Iwobi, who is just, basically got his career back. I mean, probably in the form of his life, actually, form of his career. He's been fantastic. But, those few players, they can't do it on their own. And I think It's difficult. It is just difficult because we need someone like Neil Maupay to step up. But the issue kind of is with me, if I'm having to try and make a case for Salomon Rondon to play for Everton in 2022,
yeah,
I think that says, an awful lot. Where 5 years ago he'd have been an okay backup striker, like he was for Newcastle.
yeah,
Just not now. I think that says a lot.
yeah, definitely. So of course we've got this cup game. Firstly, I think we're going to rotate a lot. So Mark Travers, without a shadow of a doubt, is probably going to start. But I think the back four will change quite a bit. Maybe one might stay in, maybe Metham, but I'm sure James Hill will come in. Zamora will probably play on the left, Stacey on the right. I'm not sure what he's going to do with the midfield. I wouldn't be surprised Jaden Anthony on the left-hand side, maybe Christie or Stanislas on the right, and it could be a right mix in the centre. And then up front, I wouldn't be surprised if Keeper Moore stays in, but maybe Jamal Lowe. But is there any players in the Bournemouth side who stand out for you, Rose?
So I think Phil Bill, I think as you called him
Phil
on my
Bill, yeah,
channel.
Phil Bill, yep.
Philip Billing, definitely. I think he's been like a really standout player for you guys in some games. Solanke with the ex-Liverpool connection is always somebody that I'm watching out for. I also think somebody that I forgot about, Stanislas. I remember when you guys were in the Premier League last time, I felt like he always scored against us.
Yeah.
As well. And then Kiefer Moore too. I'm just looking at the players that have got kind of the most goals for you guys. And yeah, I think it'll be a close game. I think both teams will rotate. I think Lampard will too. And yeah, just it'll be a close one, I think.
Not another 3-3.
Well, it might. Well, the thing is, I would say yes, but I just can't see Everton scoring 3. So,
To be honest, we've not got a bad record really against Everton. And we've been involved in some high-scoring games. And I know one of the concerns for Everton fans, like you said as well on your show, is that you don't score enough.
No.
But look at what we've conceded, whereas we've scored 5 in the last 2 and have got 0 points from that. I think it could happen, couldn't it?
So I think the Leicester one for me was just like the alarm bells were ringing purely because it just didn't look like scoring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there were maybe a couple of chances, but Leicester had something like 22 attempts.
Yeah.
So to come to Goodison and to do that, and like for the crowd to just be like not numb, but the crowd was so quiet because really the players gave nothing. And so I really hope for the fans that make the trip down all the way to Bournemouth tomorrow that the players show way more for the fans to get behind.
I'm sure there'll be quite a lot of fans as well staying for the weekend game as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So let's do a double prediction this time round. So we've never done this before. How do you think it's going to go in the cup, and how do you think it's going to go in the league?
So in the cup, I just think it's about who turns up on the day, who's braver out of the two teams. I'd love to say Everton, but to be honest, I can see something like a 2-2. I can see it being a draw. You guys scoring a couple, us scoring a couple, and maybe penalties, and then it's anyone's game. In the league, I think I'd like to think that we'll get something because our away performances, on the whole, we've been set up quite well by Lampard, but it is about on the counter taking those chances. We haven't done that. Like, so for example, against Fulham, we drew with them 0-0 away from home at Craven Cottage. And it was an okay performance, but it was so risky at times. Fulham had their chances and just weren't clinical. But the defensive shape is okay. It's just if Lampard can find a way for us to put the ball in the back of the net, like that's all it is. I mean, I might say a 1-0 to Everton in the league, because Cody will be back in, Tarkowski, Mikalenko, Garner Gay, Iwobi. We will have that energy in midfield. Onana. We should, if they all turn up and they play, 100%, then they could get 3 points at you guys. But will they? Different question. What about you?
Well, I think in the cup, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw, goes to penalties. It's anybody's game then. So that's what I think in the cup. In the league, I think we will go ahead. I think we will go into a lead. It's whether or not Gary O'Neill knows how to defend that lead this time round. And hopefully after that Leeds game, after the Spurs game, he's worked it out and thinks, right, okay, we need to make sure that we tighten up after going in, to a 3-1 lead against Leeds. You'd half expect to come out away with something there.
That gives me a little bit of hope. I think anyone who's an Everton fan watching like this, a little bit negative, but that does give me some hope that you guys are conceding a lot, but then the way sometimes Everton play is quite tentative and nervous, and we're going to pass it around the back. We're going to be cautious, and we just can't do any of that if we want to score against you guys.
Yeah, and looking at the goals that you've scored since the start of October. You scored 2 against Southampton, 1 against Man United, and then 3 against Crystal Palace. So only 6 goals in, I'm trying to work it out now, probably about 9 games, but 3 of those goals come in the same game. 2 come against Southampton. But then again, we are what we are, and I think you will score against us. You will have opportunities. You will score. I wouldn't be surprised if you score 2. If we score 3, happy days. But I think Gary O'Neill needs to know how to shut up shop. But it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be very, very interesting, and interesting how this cup game and this league game kind of blend into each other, because we'd rather Everton were playing somebody else and were then travelling down on Thursday, because guaranteed they'll probably be training at Poole Town, and they'll probably all Wimborne Town or someone like that, and then be, have quite a few days to be ready. There's no travelling to worry about until after the game. So, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword for us, really, this. So, hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't come back to bite us. But thank you so much for coming on the show, Rose. It's been an absolute pleasure. And do tell everybody, and I'm going to make you large screen for this as well, like I do for everyone. Do tell everybody where they can find you.
So I have a channel. It used to be called Everton Rose. If you search Everton Rose, it will come up, or just Rose as well, and I think it will. I make previews with lots of opposition fans, watch-alongs for different games, and mainly Everton match reviews. So feel free to check that out if you wish. You can also find me on Instagram. It's Everton__Rose. So
excellent. All the links will be down in the description. But like I say, Rose, thank you so much for coming on the show, and all the very best for the rest of the season, of course. I'd say after this game, but after these 2 games, I should say, after this week, all the very, very best. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem, my pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this show. Please remember to hit the like, the subscribe, the bell button, all that as well. Check out our previous videos, check out our previous interviews. Cherry picking as well will be back very, very soon as well. So do keep your eyes peeled, but you hit the bell, it will alert you anyway. So what have you got to lose? Please also do leave any comments, your predictions for the game as well underneath. Follow us on all our socials as well. We will be doing some extra build up for this game as well, but especially the Premier League game very shortly. So keep your eyes peeled for that. We'll be doing the free for all on Sunday at 8:30. So do get involved as well. That will be, of course, commenting on the league game, but you can mention the cup game as well if you want. So that's not a problem. We will also be doing quite a bit for the World Cup as well here at Up the Cherries and All Departments. I'll keep that all secret for the time being. But until the next one, up the cherries, and I'll see you then. Thank you for joining us.